endowment policies, life insurance policies, and retirement annuities are policies that we take out for a specific purpose. Now, the life insurance policy and retirement annuities we are going to do when we do insurance. But for the most part, I'm only going to speak really about endowment policies. Now, normally it is a fixed savings plan that is offered by life insurance companies. In this case, I've got Liberty over here and Old Mutual that offer endowment policies. Now, normally an endowment policy will carry a specific fixed term. It could be either 5 years or 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, but the minimum term is normally 5 years. Now, your core content says it's a monthly payment paid to an insurance company with the expectancy of receiving a predetermined amount. Now, that is not completely correct, because in an endowment policy, you will choose the fund that you are going to invest into, and that fund can either do well or not do well, so it doesn't necessarily have a predetermined amount. But what they sometimes do is they couple this savings plan with a life insurance element. Now, you can then decide to insure your life for a specific value. So upon your death or disability, then the policy will cease and they will pay you out a predetermined amount that you've taken out on your life. But normally they don't do this anymore exactly like that. An endowment policy is nothing else but a 5-year savings plan. Now, the reason why you would take out that is for something that you save for specifically. In this case, it's like your child's education, or it could be for other reasons that I know that in 5 years' time I want to go overseas, and you can put money away for an overseas trip. The risk of these investments are normally quite low, but it's also going to be dependent, just in the case with the unit trust, on the fund that you're going to choose. The funds could be high risk, medium risk, or it could be no risk at all. But the lower the risk, of course, the lower the return. Where the circumstances come in is when you couple it with life insurance. So if something would have happened that cost you to lose your life, then your dependents will receive a predetermined amount. Okay. Now, the reason why they say this is safe, normally with life insurance it works out like that if you would lose your life, they will definitely pay you out, barring the fact that the insurance company may have gone bankrupt. But there are normally big rules that apply when you manage funds in insurance companies, so that is quite unlikely that something like that would happen. Grade 12, I'm going to do fixed deposits and 32-day notice deposits in one go now. Now, normally fixed deposits are investment schemes that you get from banks. Now, basically what you do is you invest your money in a savings account with either of the big banks, and they will then determine a fixed term. Now, in a fixed term, you must decide how long the term would be, and you cannot withdraw money at any given time, or you cannot put new money in. So you need to be very certain that you are not going to need that money within the period that it is fixed. Now, also the rule here is that the longer the term, the higher the interest rate would be. Now, normally the reason why that is the longer you leave your money with the bank, the longer they have to lend it out to other people and receive interest on it, so therefore they will give you a higher interest rate as well. The shorter the term, the less the interest rate would be that they're going to pay you. Now, guys, this is not an investment like a unit trust where you invest in market conditions. It is normally a fixed rate that they pay you, and they will pay you that regardless of what the markets do. So it's not a market-related income. It is an interest-bearing income that is determined on a fixed rate. Okay, the risk in these things are incredibly low. It's very, very conservative. Now, what that means is you will not receive a very high return on investment, but you are absolutely certain that that money is going to be paid to you with interest as promised. Okay, a 32-day notice deposit is almost the same thing, except for there's no fixed term. The only thing that you need to do is when I want to withdraw the money, I need to give the bank at least 32 days notice. Now, the reason why we do it like that is to make sure that we don't just withdraw money from our savings. It is where I am forced to save the money and keep it in my investment. So I cannot just get the money out when I need it immediately. You need to have at least 32-day notice. Okay, it is also invested at a fixed rate. It normally gives you a bit more interest rate than what you would get out of a normal savings account at the bank. Those things normally don't pay a lot of interest, 1.5 to 2%, and with a 32-day notice you will also receive a bit higher than that. But it sometimes and mostly do not outperform inflation even. It is just a forced way of saving money so that you don't have access to it just on a whim. The risk, again, as with fixed deposit, is very, very low. So therefore, the return on investment is not a lot. Okay, but you will most definitely get your money back. Right. And that is all there is for types of investments. Next week we will be doing the evaluation of certain ones. Morning grade 12s. Today we are going to speak about Stokvels, or a mutual fund. Now guys, a Stokvel is basically an informal saving scheme that is done between friends or people from work and so forth. Now in this case that I've got here is a Stokvel that is run by 4 people, or 4 people that participate. It's Sifiso, Sophie, Linda, and Boosie. Now each of them contribute a certain amount of money. In this case it makes up a total of 1,000 Rand, so everybody has made up that 1,000 Rand. And in this month it was Sifiso's turn to receive 1,000 Rand. Then the next month they all contribute again. Then it's Sophie's turn to receive the money, and in this case it's Boosie's turn to receive the money. Now this is an informal scheme that's normally not paying interest or anything like that. So it's not really an investment that gives you a future income. It is just a way of saving money to get money when you need it most, like for a birthday or an overseas trip or something. So everybody contributes, and then you take turns in actually sharing the money. Now this is just basically to explain what I have just showed you in that little schematic overview. Each member takes a turn to draw. It is normally no return on investment. It's basically just the money that you are putting into it, and then when you need the money you can actually get the money that everybody is contributing. But it does come with a bit of risk. Normally there is no risk if the people that are managing the scheme is somebody that you know and trust. But it does run the risk of a pyramid scheme. Now I'm going to explain to you a pyramid scheme. You don't really need to know this for your curriculum, but it's a nice thing to know, and it's a bit of background information. So I've got a picture that came up here, and this is a Stokvel that was advertised, and this is actually nothing else but a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme. And the words that showed me that this is a pyramid scheme are these ones. Recruit as many as you can. So that means I am going to recruit many people and then give an interest or payment to the guys that invested first. I'm using next investors' money to pay the first investors. And then it says get paid 1,200 Rand, then you rejoin and enjoy a profit. Now normally with a Stokvel there is no real profit that you can make. So beware of something like this, which is called a pyramid scheme. Now the pyramid scheme was firstly invented by a guy in America. He was an Italian-born American called Charles Ponzi. Now I've got a slide here for you that will show you who Charles Ponzi was. It's this gentleman over here. Now, he was the first guy that, it's a swindler, that started a pyramid scheme. And if you can zoom into this, you can read how a pyramid scheme works. So you can pause this and look at this. So guys, whenever you get offered something that is just too good to be true, it probably is a pyramid scheme and it is highly illegal. So just make yourselves aware of what a pyramid scheme is. Grade 12s, we are going to speak now about venture capital. Now, those of you that are familiar with the show Dragon's Den will actually know exactly how venture capital works. Now, normally you will have these people over here that you guys might know as the dragons, and then people come up and they pitch them business ideas. And then the venture capitalists will then decide whether they want to invest in that business or not. And normally it comes with the idea that the venture capitalist will get some sort of share in the business. Okay, so that is exactly how venture capital works. Now, that is normally done by a person that wants to start a business, but they have lack of funds. So they go to these people and pitch an idea. The venture capitalist will then do a bit of research, normally into the type of industry that they want to get into or the economic conditions, and then decide whether it's a good idea for them to invest in that kind of business as well. But venture capitalists actually take a massive risk by investing in startup businesses, for the simple reason that many startup businesses actually fail. Now, I've got a graph here, or a schematic overview of how venture capitalism works. You've basically got four players in the market. You've got entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, investment bankers, and private investors. Now, in terms of Dragon's Den, your private investors are your venture capitalists. The entrepreneurs come and pitch ideas to them, and they then give the entrepreneurs money in order to start up that business in return for a share in the business. Now, obviously, they also need to get their money from somewhere else, and that could be from an investment bank. So this is just a very basic idea of how venture capitalists or capital works, but it comes with enormous risk. The investor or the venture capitalist that invests money in a startup business takes a risk on the business owner. If that business owner is very inexperienced, then they may make the wrong decisions that may cause the business to fail. So it is for that reason that the venture capitalists normally ask for a share in the business, and they then also give that business owner advice and mentorship and all of those things so that they can make sure that the business actually survives.